Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding. Motion. And first things first, here's a clip from the Natural Gallant Bodybuilding podcast that's exclusively on Patreon. So take a listen. And I have come up with something, and I know that you guys, want me to keep you company, as you're working or as you're commuting or whatever it is you're doing. You might be on the bus. You might be mugging old ladies in the middle of an alleyway somewhere, and you need something to listen to as you're doing this stuff. So, hey, hopefully you're not doing that. But if you are, at least you got something to listen to, and I'm keeping you company. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not an accomplice to the crime. So that's the good part about it. I can keep you company. We can be friends, but I don't have to necessarily be in the direct proximity of what you're up to. So... So anyway, today I want to talk to you a little bit about something that's almost on topic with this craziness that I'm speaking about right now. I'm going to say that training emulates life a little bit. I'm sure you guys have noticed this, where you go into the gym and you got lots of plans, right? You're going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger by the end of the workout. Everything is going to go perfect. You're going to be stronger and better than ever before. People will tremble before you in awe because of such beauty is walking in front of them, And you go there and then you basically shit the bed. So there you go. If you're interested in listening to more of that podcast and many others that I'm putting up, just go to patreon.com. I've got the link down below and become a patron for Natural Gallant Bodybuilding. Motion. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, can you build legs without squats? Now, somebody in the comments just asked me, they said, is it possible to build big bodybuilder legs without squats? And I would point you towards many bodybuilders who discarded the squat altogether because they found it too dangerous, or maybe they had a lower back injury and they just could not use the squat the same way they used to before. And a lot of them would go to the Smith machine squat, the hack squat, and so forth, along with many variations of lunges and deadlifts and that sort of thing. One of these famous bodybuilders is Dorian Yates. He would exclusively Smith machine squat instead of free weight barbell squat, and therefore he found it took a lot of the pressure off his lower back. And we know he had massive legs. Now, I know we're not talking about natural bodybuilding there, but just because he's not a natural bodybuilder doesn't mean that some of the principles aren't true, right? So what I'm going to say to you is whatever stimulates the leg muscle the most is going to give you decent sized legs. And we know all sorts of sports that use constant tension endurance type training, and they seem to build legs, and that doesn't mean that they're squatting. They might be doing other exercises altogether, or maybe not doing any, maybe just exclusively their sport. So I'm going to tell you right now that if you're really great at doing walking lunges, Smith machine lunges, or one-legged squats, and you're doing like some sort of hamstring work, whether it's a Romanian deadlift or a deadlift, or maybe you're doing some sort of other type of hamstring work, right? Like leg curls and stuff. If you are hitting the leg muscle and hitting failure and challenging it, I mean, with, anywhere from 8 reps to 50 rep sets, I guarantee you're going to be putting on leg size on those legs. I mean, the big thing that the squat works is a lot of lower back and hips along with the attachments, because the leg muscles do attach around the hip. So there's no question that the squat really stimulates the overall system by including a lot of the lower back and hips in the exercise. But when you're doing a walking lunge or doing a one-legged squat or even doing leg presses, you are challenging certain muscles in the leg. The only thing I will say is that if you are replacing the squat with something like a hack squat or a leg press, you may notice that there's a little bit less activation because there's not as much hip flexion and extension during the movement, right? On a leg press, you're locked in, right? You're not necessarily extending and getting a lot of that hamstring in there, or as much hamstring anyway. And in a hack squat, you're kind of locked in a certain position. But now in the market, there are a lot of machines that allow the extension of the upper body and the curling. Basically, they mimic a squat quite well. Not exactly, but quite well, and take out some of the danger, right? There are some squat machines that allow you to bend over as you're coming down and then straighten up again. And because of this, I would say that you don't necessarily have to squat in order to gain legs, although I like the squat because I get an overall body stimulation from it. But that's because it works for me. But if it doesn't work for you, doing one-legged movements like walking lunges or climbing hills or any of this stuff, I'm telling you, you're going to build an ass and you're going to build legs if you are challenging those muscles within the anaerobic window. There's no question about it. So you don't have to squat. It's just like squats have become one of those things like the deadlift. It's almost like they've become placed up on an altar, like a holy exercise of some sort, and they're the benchmark that everybody's supposed to attain. But the truth is there are a lot of high-end competitive bodybuilders that did not squat. I don't think Vince Taylor squatted, or many of the other bodybuilders. You know, it was pretty common for them to train legs in different ways in order to really get that quadricep, because a lot of them would argue that the lower back and the hips come into play so much so that sometimes their quadriceps and hamstrings were lagging behind as far as they weren't necessarily getting stimulated enough. So this is going to be different for each person. I mean, we know Tom Platz, you know, he really stimulated the quads because of the way he could squat based on his body dynamics, but not everybody's going to be that way. So I think the ideal exercise is going to really be dependent on your individual constitution and joint proportions. That's really going to make a big difference. Because I know, you know, one guy from the gym, he competed as a natural bodybuilder, and he competed at a high level, but he would just do nothing but grow an ass from squatting. He just had a hell of a time isolating any sort of hamstring or quadricep development. So based on this, you're going to have to change your training depending on how your body is developing. If you're getting nothing but ass from squats, maybe there's some other exercise that may give you better results, and maybe less aches and pains to boot. Who knows, right? But only through experimentation will you find out. But really, I think the squat is only ideal for some people. It's not necessarily ideal for everyone. Although I do think there are some powerful rehabilitative aspects of the squat, like learning how to squat by using your body properly, by keeping the back in the proper form and pushing off of the hips and through the middle of the foot. Like, these are great principles to learn to reduce the negative stress in the body and increase the muscle activation. But in the end, it is by no means necessary for you to just squat in order to put on muscle mass. So anyway, yeah, I hope this answers your question. Thanks a lot for commenting. Thanks a lot for tuning in. And yeah, if you guys want to get more podcast stuff, just make sure you go to Patreon. And also this shirt right now, this is like a new shirt. It's the same logo and whatever, but it's the tank top that you can get in my store, but this is the tri-blend. So I noticed that the higher end tank tops and higher end t-shirts, the tri-blend or the soft blend, they fit much better. So if you guys are looking for a shirt that fits better, I'd highly recommend you check that one out instead of the cheaper version of it. Although, hey, we're all broke these days, but at the same time, if you want something that's a little bit higher quality that you like to wear, that fits better, I'd recommend the higher end tri-blend or the soft shirts. So yeah, that's what I got on right now. Mountain. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the Patreon supporters, and take care for now. Natural Gallant.